As humans, our eyes are naturally drawn to even and symmetrical designs. It's an instinct to want things to be balanced and easy to read. However, creating that balance is harder than it looks. Hey, welcome back if you're new here. My name is Sophie, and today I wanted to walk you guys through a few tips that I use to make my bullet journal spreads even and balanced. Before we get into this video, don't forget to go down and click that subscribe button if you haven't already, and comment down below I subscribed so I can reply to your comment. Getting right into this video, I'm going to be demonstrating using a weekly spread that I'm making for one of the first weeks of April. If you guys didn't see my April plan with me, I will link it in the cards and in the description box below, but I did a scrapbook dark academia vintage music theme. For this weekly spread, I've already penciled out my basic layout, and as you can see, I have little circle boxes for every day of the week, and also a couple elements on the top right and bottom left corners that I will be talking about later. Whenever you choose the style of your spread, it's usually based off of your overall monthly theme and those spreads. A main difference that I like to decide on when making my bullet journal themes and weeklies is whether it's going to be a minimal spread or a doodle heavy spread. Personally, minimal spreads to me means a lot of white open space, not too much drawing, simpler fonts, and a more simpler look. While doodle heavy spreads are more cluttered, kind of in more cases more chaotic, more busy, with a lot more going on and less open space. If you guys saw my April plan with me, you would know that this spread is going to be pretty doodle heavy because since I'm scrapbooking, I'm using a lot of paper and other materials, and it will definitely make this page more busy. I'll elaborate more on this later, but this is basically my thought process as I was sketching out this weekly spread. If you guys didn't know, I do have an Etsy shop called Mingo Prints, and I updated it for April. I have a few more listings, including an April weekly kit that I'm going to be using in this video today, a novel ideas sticker sheet, and a couple other stickers. The link will be down below to my Etsy shop if you want to check out any of these designs and support me in another location. Now let's talk about structure. When you're sketching out your overall spread, you have to decide if you're going to be going with something boxy and structured, or a rolling weekly, or something horizontal, basically what kind of layout you want to do. As you can see, my general layout is boxes and a very modular look with designs in the top right and bottom left corner. You also have to decide where all the days are going to go and make sure that you have room for all your daily tasks. Also figure out if you need a separate section for weekly to-dos, large events, or even a next week section. Do you want to add something fun like a playlist section or a quote? Pencil it out. I'm currently pasting in some papers in the corners that are going to help structure the spread. But by the pencil you can see that I have space for all 7 days of the week and a special box for to-dos. Make sure no matter what type of spread it is that everything is balanced and even. I usually do this by putting the days in the general center and leaving room on the edges for a task section or a quote. That's using radial symmetry because I am centering everything around one point in the middle of my spread. In this example though, I'm using more vertical symmetry by putting the days on the top and most of the extras near the bottom. Again, make sure there's enough space to write so your spread is productive along with pretty. Now let's talk about titles and headers. The next step in your process is to define all these sections that you just sketched out. And of course, I love to do this by adding headers. The first thing to think about are a couple of font ideas, and I'm going to demonstrate some here on the screen. Of course, I love to brush letter, and I've made many videos about that on my channel that you can check out. But variations on serif fonts, monoline cursive, or even bubble lettering can be fun. Just make sure they don't overwhelm the spread, especially if you're decorating with photos or drawings. Here in this weekly spread, I've actually used some of my stickers from my April weekly kit to write out all of the days of the week. It looks just like lettering, but it's already done for me and really convenient. I'm just going to be using my normal handwriting font to write the days of the week, 5 through 11, and also April on all of the little gray streaks under all of the days of the week. Now again, I'm changing up my font into this faux calligraphy-ish serif font. If you guys saw my April plan with me, you'd recognize this for some of my subheaders in that setup. I'm using this font to title and outline a to-do section in the bottom right of my spread. A popular trick that I like to use is to pick one font for my days of the week and then choose another for all the extra stuff that I mentioned earlier. So I chose one font for the days of the week, the calligraphy that I did digitally, and then used another font for a different subheader, which is the to-dos. The last different header I'm going to be making is the very last one and the very large one, April. Here I'm doing a special kind of lettering trick that I've fallen in love with recently, which is an inky, dripping look on top of your letters. I started by using a light brown brush pen and just lettered April in my normal calligraphy style. Then, using a darker brush pen, I drew these drips in darker brown on top of each of the letters. This kind of ended up looking like chocolate, which I'm not mad about even though it wasn't my original design. To add more base to the letters, I also used that same dark brown to add a drop shadow on the bottom right sides of every letter. And lastly, I'm using a white gel pen to highlight the top left corners of every letter. This makes the lettering look more 3D when the shadows are on one side and the highlights are on another. I am so incredibly happy with how this title turned out, and if you want to see more calligraphy styles that you can do in your own bullet journal, check out this video linked in the card and in the description box below. Pulling out my bullet journal again, I'm just going to be positioning this title in the bottom left corner. Before we move on to the next step in balancing the spread, I want to continue finishing the structure in my weekly. I decided to draw a girl holding a mug, and technically this seemed like a very fall design, but I was going with more of a dark academia vintage look, so I think it still matches the theme even though April is a spring month. I haven't drawn people in my weekly spreads in a long time, but I've been practicing figure drawings outside of my bullet journal in a sketchbook, and I'm really happy with how this girl turned out. I also decided to add a couple more elements to this spread, including a miniature playlist in the top right corner and a small calendar from, again, my sticker sheet in the bottom left. Now let's talk about color, one of my favorite parts. Obviously, at this point in the video, I've already added loads of color onto my spread, but I wanted to go over some of the top tips that I like to use when distributing it. It's important to remember that although color is fun, you need to know when not to add it. Some people like to overwhelm a spread with color, and if that's your thing, more power to you. But personally, I like to even out where there's color and where there isn't. Starting with a decoration, like this drawing that I'm currently shading, I could have started by coloring every single element of this girl, including her hair and her sweater, but I decided to just use my gray brush pen and add general shadows, and then make the mug brown. I feel like this is a cool idea because it still makes the picture look very 3D, but because there's a lot more color around the outside of the spread, it doesn't overwhelm the picture by loads and loads of brown. Another thing to think about is if you're pasting pictures into your spread, you need to make sure that there are some areas without color or that not too many saturated pictures are piled on top of each other. Here are some pictures on the screen of past weekly spreads that I've made, where I try to make sure that if there are pictures that I'm pasting into my spread, that there's balance and not too much color to kind of even out the weekly. Another thing you can check colors with is with the headers of your spread. Obviously, my theme is very brown based, and there are not many different colors to play with, but I still distributed them pretty evenly throughout this spread. I used the very saturated brown for her mug, for the circles, and then for the word April. Balancing my paper was good too, because you can see that I used the light brown paper and the dark brown paper both in the left and right side of the spread, and so it's evenly balanced throughout the page. Lastly, if you're still looking to add more color, a fun trick can be to add borders or box your dailies in a colored pen instead of just black or leaving it blank. So you're likely going to be filling in the spread with a basic black pen. Adding color to the border can help split up a visually monotone page. As I finish up this spread, I wanted to talk about fixing mistakes. If you tried all these tricks and your spread still isn't balanced, your problem is likely there's too much stuff crowding it. How can it look even if you can't tell one thing from another? Try changing up an idea like covering up a distracting doodle with white paper or removing a few stickers. Personally, I find that when my life is too busy and cluttered, I feel very stressed, and the same issue affects my journal. This is why I want even and balanced spreads in the first place, so that I have a nice clean area to organize my thoughts. On the other side of the spectrum, maybe you feel your spread has too much balance. That was wrong with this particular weekly spread. Do you feel like your spread is mathematically organized and is too structured? Maybe you try adding a little bit of asymmetry. A spread can still be visually balanced without being too symmetrical. Try adding a quote in one corner early, like I'm doing here on top of the doodle of the girl. Or add some stickers and washi tape in different corners, add another element that you haven't used already. I added some circle stickers to the bottom right of my spread and also some washi tape. Then I also, of course, used my black pen and added doodles everywhere of black music notes. These little finishing touches really bring a spread to life and makes it more fun when you open it every day to journal. Anyway, so I think that's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed and learned something. If you did, don't forget to go down and like this video and also subscribe again if you haven't already. If you want to check out my Etsy shop and the April kit that I used to make this weekly spread, all links will be down below so you can go check that out. Comment down below your favorite element to add in your weekly spread, like a playlist or a calendar if you got this far in the video. Anyway, I'm going to get going and I'll see you next week for a new and exciting video. Toodles!